You're now on.
Okay, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We can just all begin together. All right. And I'll remind everyone to remember to turn on their microphones. Excuse me. Okay, pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, meeting is called to order. We have a roll call, please, Steve. Everybody? Just in case.
All right, now official.
Thank you. For the call of the roll, we'll start with Commissioner Stobo.
Here.
Commissioner Conrad.
Present.
Commissioner Harmon.
Present.
Commissioner Hirsch.
Here.
Chair Golden.
Here.
Absent is Commissioner Michael Addison. And we also have our City Council liaison here as well, Councilmember Blatz.
Good evening.
Thank you, Paul, for being here. Yes, Commissioner Addison is at a Greek play, and he has promised to fill us in completely. We don't have any presentations scheduled, so we'll go on to public comment, and seeing no public, we'll move right along to approval of the minutes. Now, we didn't have a chance to look at these, so I'm going to give everybody a minute here to silently read those.
It was back in July. It's even your last
Did you not get the packet?
Pardon me?
Did you get the packet I emailed to you?
But there weren't any minutes in it. It was just the agenda. Oh, okay, a point of order here. I may have been being careless, but I thought all I received from Steve was the agenda. Did the rest of you receive the minutes as well?
Yeah, it was in an attachment.
Oh, so the rest of you did receive the
entire
minutes?
packet.
that.
Okay, so we missed it, Steve. We're just,
Oh, okay.
we were in our right brains.
Okay, sorry about that. We had an issue with not being able to get it out in the mail last week, so we had to send it out by email.
Okay. But we're tooling along here. I have only one more page to go, and then. Do we have the revised and updated goals? 5-year goals. Okay, fantastic. Good.
This must be exciting TV.
Yes, well, does anyone need more time to read it?
I have a correction.
Okay, we have corrections. Let's start with Barbara, and we'll go around. Barbara, your corrections, a page, and what they are?
Page, the second page of 4, under public art. It says, Commissioner Hirsch reported the committee is writing new guidelines, yes, and compiling a list of the art affected by the ordinance.
Mm-mm.
No. I asked for a list of each piece of art since 2003, which has been which has been part of the ordinance, and I wanted to know the piece, the cost, and the total cost of all the public art that has happened since the ordinance was written.
So what would be the way to say that would be agreeable to you, Barbara?
That's the way you said it.
Because from what you said, that is a list of the art,
No.
but there's just stuff
No,
missing, like since
what I
2003.
What I really want is the total cost of all the art projects that were, part of the ordinance.
That were installed,
It's the
okay.
cost, it's not the.
Since 2003?
And it's
Well,
not what
yeah, that was when it was first
Okay.
passed.
So what you want is a list since 2003 of art that has been installed as a result of the ordinance and the cost of each piece, so
Yeah.
you can total so that we can
Right.
total the costs.
Yes.
So I think there's just a little adjustment on the words there. Is that okay? Okay. All right, anything else, Barbara?
No.
Okay, Linda, you got corrections?
I was present and it lists me as not present.
Linda was here, but it has her under absent,
Oh.
and that should be corrected. That's a good catch, Linda. Good catch. Roger, anything?
No.
Heather? Looks okay. Then let's call for a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the minutes stand corrected as approved. As corrected. Stand approved as corrected. Okay. Discussion and action items. In your packet, and if you didn't get it run off, there's one in front of your place. We have a copy of the 5-year plans that were sent back for a little tweaking. Item 5A in your packet. And tonight is the night that we can approve and adopt our 5-year goals. Although I do have a question about that, really for Paul, which is, can the commission adopt its goals, or does it have to go to the city?
I think you can adopt your goals.
Okay, good, great. So, anybody, you want to take a minute to look at them again, make sure we got it right? Or we can just go right ahead with a motion to approve?
I'm impressed with our goals.
You read it.
Yes. Me too. This will go down in history as the quiet meeting. Looks like everyone's pretty much done with taking a look. Does we have a motion to adopt the 5-year goals that we developed in this spring of 2014?
I
have a
mo-
question, though.
Sure.
For example, when we say explore various aspects of applying for grants and funds to art commission programs,
Can you give us the number that you're
it's
looking at?
13,
13?
including assistance from a professional grant writer. How do we set things like that in motion?
That's up to us.
Just,
Yeah.
just
I mean, but
by,
is it going to be something that we'll put on a meeting agenda and start from there? Yeah. Okay.
right,
I was just thinking.
yeah.
I was just making sure it
That's a
wasn't
great point.
falling under a certain committee at this point. It's just we all do it.
There was a point where we had to put committees down for like whose duties those were, but that was one of the corrections to make, was to take the committees off, because so many of them involve everybody. So, but I think Heather, I'm glad you brought it up, because it's very important. Whatever committee you're chair of, you should circle or note the goal that you are going to really be looking to take some action on or make some progress on. And there may be more than one chair looking at a particular goal, but that's a great phone call and conversation to have, is how you're going to go about doing that. So it's like one of those things, I believe Michael said at one point, well, they're going to end up on a shelf. And I think that'd be a shame, because these are really terrific and they're very concrete. And the way to get them done is to take it back to the committee level. Absolutely. Should we keep this on the agenda and do that at a meeting, not tonight, but a meeting maybe when everyone is here and we actually have a full body and we've seated the 2 new members? Because that would be very good to review these with our new members. And then perhaps at that time we can say, all right, which committee chairs are going to follow up on these? So can we just note in the minutes that for probably our January 2015 meeting, hopefully we'll have a full body here, and that would be a great time to do that, I think.
Christine? I would just hope that we wouldn't jump into it too quickly. I'd like to get our other ducks in a row with everybody on board, because there's some
Good point.
transitions
Yes,
happening
thank you.
before we jump into this.
Yeah.
Maybe a little later.
So, you think January is still too soon? Yeah.
Is,
Well, let's revisit it in January and see if it's too soon in January, because we may seat people for our next meeting next month. We have interviews coming. I'm not going to talk about it now. Later on, when I make comments, I will. But it could happen that we have members, so pretty soon.
did you establish that you could have art commission volunteers?
Yes, I believe you asked that question, Barbara. It should have been reflected in the minutes, because you did ask the question, I remember quite clearly, and the answer was absolutely. If you want to have people on your committee who are just going to help you out with things, go for it. They're not commissioners, they don't have any kind of a vote, or, well, neither do we really, neither do any of your committees really. They all come back here to the body of the whole, and then, if appropriate, things go to city council. You guys are so good. You think of all this stuff. I love it. All right, so we'll bring that back, and then if it's still too soon in January, we'll just push it back again. Let's go on then to budget allocations. Barbara and I have had a conversation here with Steve one day when we were meeting in regards to working on the guidelines for the public art ordinance, and at the end of that meeting, we talked about since Barbara has regrettably tendered her resignation from the Arts Commission, that would she give me a budget for the monies that were assigned to Arts Ojai Education Committee. And Barbara, can I let you pick it up from here with what you had decided? Barbara and I are that committee right now, so it was a mutual decision, but Barbara's the chair, so I would like.
Well, it was your feeling that nobody was going to pick up that committee. So I think you should use the funds in another way. But I hope that it's not going to be dropped, because I really feel that the education component is really important.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to be dropped. I think we have to continue with that. It's been an incredible vision on your part and a wonderful thrust for this committee to take the education of the public here in Ojai, especially in terms of what's going on in the art world now. So we don't want to drop it, but without your vision at the helm to know what you were thinking those monies would be used for, we thought we could just flip them over into grants. Because we'd already taken money away from grants, we want to give it back to grants. So that was the feeling. Now, Steve, how do we formally do that?
Can I ask a question first?
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, am I to understand that, I wanted to bring that up at the meeting, I didn't know this was when we were gonna do it, but, so the Arts 21 thing, the education slots were already scheduled, but then we've also had the problem with our venue with the theater.
Well, I
So
was
is it
going to
your-
report that
Yeah.
a little bit later. You
Okay.
want to know about it now?
Well, just because I'd kind of like to know, I mean, I don't want to flip them over if we've got a project going ahead. Are we not going ahead with what?
It costs us nothing, that
is
project.
free. That is free. The budget was for more education
Oh,
and
okay.
the possible need for some funds. So it hasn't been allocated or decided yet.
Okay.
But the Art 21 program will continue, and I'll talk
Okay,
about that.
we'll talk about that later. Okay, that was a question I had. Thank you.
Anybody else, any questions about that? Okay, well then, back to you, Steve. Do we take a, does it say action item there? For B?
It's listed as a discussion and action item. So
Okay.
the
So we would need a motion then to move, I believe it's $1,500?
That's correct. If you turn to item 5B, which is just after the goals in your packet, it's the current budget allocations for fiscal year 14-15, and you can see the amounts that have been allocated to each one of the program areas. And you're correct, there's $1,500 in there under Arts Ojai Education, and there's $13,000 for the arts grant, so.
So that would give the arts grant $1,450 at this point in time.
14,500, correct. If the motion was approved.
14,500.
I ask a question about this before we do
Sure.
anything?
Oh, yes.
I'm just worried about getting rid of this. I know Barbara's stepping down, but it's, and she's been kind of the person who's been pushing this. But we are expecting 2 new people, and so it just seems, to me, a jump to get rid of the budget for this, because I think we could still do things.
Well, let me give you the reasoning that we used for this then, Heather. We don't want to have, at the end of the year, money left over. When we go to the city and ask for money, it's
Yeah.
really upon us to spend it and to have in mind why we asked for it in the first place. And we do not have anything concrete for that $1,500. And to bring people on and have them come up with it, I think is, like Linda said, they have to get acclimated to even being a commissioner. I think the grants can use that money, and we know it's going to be spent and spent well. And later on, it's going to come up tonight that we're even getting some more of that back. So at least we know, and the city is so in favor of our expenditures when it comes to giving grants for projects. So that was our thinking, was it's sort of like a shot in the dark to think, well, somebody new is going to come on and figure out how to budget that amount of money.
Yes, but I guess my worry is also that we get rid of this money and it doesn't go back there ever.
Oh, no, not at all. The budget is redone each year with a goal in mind and a reason for its expenditure. So this is because Barbara is not going to be the one whose head we can pick.
Okay.
I think the real thing that you should be saying here, Heather, is this is a very good reason to not accept her resignation. You may not resign, Barbara. We need you to spend the money. But it's a good point. But no, it's not a forever thing. Our budgets aren't like that, where, once you lose it, it's gone. Not at all. So, okay. Anybody else? Because it's, these are all really good comments.
Well, I've had a chance to look at the grants, and they're very heavily towards education anyway, so this could end up being right in line.
Sweet.
Perfect.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, then we just need a motion and a second. And do we want that pretty specific?
Yes.
I move that $1,500 be moved from the Arts Ojai Education Committee to the Arts Grants Committee.
We need a second?
I'll second that.
Chair of the Grants Committee. Any discussion?
I had one question. Okay. Another question I have is if we were going to go ahead with we couldn't use that education towards our app, could we? No, that wouldn't be the same.
We couldn't do what, Linda?
For the app we were talking about doing, that wouldn't be considered education? That would be more outreach.
I think that's public relations, yeah. Do you feel you have enough?
We don't have a budget.
Yeah, you have a budget, okay.
We don't have a budget.
Don't have a budget.
No.
Do you have any idea of what you need?
We don't yet.
Oh, I see.
So
Well,
question
I
moot
would,
point, never
I would
mind.
really, for the next time around, and it comes up faster than you even think it's gonna come up every year, is that you
Yep.
get some hard numbers for us on exactly what it's gonna take. Yeah. And I know it's not as easy as it sounds, none of this is, but also keep in mind that you're working on that with the city, correct? So what the responsibility there is, whether it's city that should be spending the money on that app, or whether it's art commission, that's something else that you guys, when you have your meetings, should try to get a handle on and come back and let us know what the word is. You might want to contact the mayor, Mayor Strobel, if you have that meeting while she remains mayor, yeah. Yeah.
Is there a way that we can kind of phrase this where, 'cause my worry is that, again, when it comes around next year, it's going to be this conversation, well, there was no, you guys didn't use any money for this last year, so you don't need money for this year, type of conversation. That's what my worry is, that once
Well,
this
we've
money
never
goes-
done that before,
Okay.
so I don't think you have to worry about that. That's not been our history. It's open table when
Okay.
it comes to, each chair is going to ask for an increase or to keep the same amount of money they have and explain how they're going to use the money. So, just like public relations in the past has had a budget but didn't have a use for one this year.
We've never had a budget.
We've never had a,
We've never had a
public
budget.
relations had never had a budget.
I was just going to say to Heather, too, because she has come on after this, you came right at the very beginning of the program. So this is a fairly new program, so hopefully it'll come back.
Yeah. I think the minutes can be reflected. Heather, what you're bringing up is that this is not intended, if the minutes can say that this is not intended to be a forever, no budget for that committee, in some way, say that.
This committee was actually what the mentor program came out of. The mentor program and the Art 21 was an education project that was offered free to the public, and we raised money for the mentor program with that education. So that it was a free program. It didn't cost us anything, and we were able to offer it to the citizens free of charge, with Colette's help. So perhaps you might consider putting the arts education program back with the mentor program until something develops out of that, instead of separating it.
Any other discussion before we vote? Just all wonderful points. Okay, then let's do a voice vote on this or a roll call. What do you think?
Well, let's do a roll call vote.
Roll
since
call
it's a
vote on this one, then.
allocation. So,
Steve.
start with you, Commissioner Stovall.
I vote yes.
Okay. Commissioner Conrad?
Yes.
Commissioner Harmon?
Yes.
Commissioner Hirsch?
Yes.
Chair
And
Golden?
Yes,
The motion passes unanimously, 5-0.
wonderful. Okay, so congratulations to the Grants Committee. You just got a little more money to spend, and we'll go on from there. Arts grants, Roger, we're ready for you.
Okay. This year, we had 8 grants that were submitted. We also had the workshop while the commission was dark, and we had 3 people show up for that. And so what I'm going to do, I've made packets for everybody, and to make it easier this year, I've actually assigned people. And so what I'm going to give you is the form here, which has your name on it and the people that I have tentatively assigned you to. And we can change this. It doesn't have to be fine, but or final. But what I chose for people's interest areas and for if you'd had experience with these people before, or in some cases, you're getting two, and they're basically the same organization that's going on. So I'll pass these out. On the inside, you'll find a sheet that gives everybody's assignment, so you know that. So, well, let's see. This is yours. And I can pass this to. And this is yours.
Aren't you missing already?
And Barbara, I gave you an easy one, knowing that you're on your final thing there. And of course, we have Michael. Let's see, also. I have a complete set for you, too.
Okay. Oh, well, of all the, of each
Yeah,
grant?
it's all the grants, so the city will have a copy, too.
Thank you, Roger.
Okay. So if you want to open it up, what I also did was to put your grants on top and any information, like in some cases there was a CD or other brochures, which are the final copy. And then also these are the instructions that we've developed for contacting, like we're asking everybody to contact your applicants within the next month and encourage them to come to next month's meeting when we are giving them an opportunity to come and speak to us. So what the commissioners need to do is contact a particular person to advise, and so you need to read through the grants, see if you have any questions, contact them and work out any questions. But we have do's and do nots that you can read here, and some kind of guidelines there.
Beautiful. Would
So-
anyone like to make,
Yeah, so I was wondering if anybody is objecting or has a conflict of interest with the people that I have called out for you.
Say something?
Sure, Barbara.
You know, it's really a pleasure to see how this has evolved over the last few years. I mean, having been here for 8 years, your input and the way you've put it together now, I think it's almost perfection. I don't know if you can go any further.
All right.
So, thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
Comments from anyone else? It's always so much fun to get these.
Yeah.
It sounds like really exciting.
Well, there is quite a bit of reading to do too, so this is your homework. Yeah, at the next meeting, any people that come to present their case or answer questions, because there may be some things like in some cases I've found the papers were kind of messed up and they didn't, so I organized them a little bit better. But there may be some contact information that isn't there that you can ask questions about.
Roger, I'm curious, because I haven't had a chance to look through the applications. We're trying to move towards a form that's easier for the people to fill out, and then also easier for us on the receiving end to be able to, read and comprehend. How did that work this time, having the optional PDF for people to download as a fillable form? Did we see any?
Yeah, I think quite a few people use that format. I would say the majority of them did. And there was one or two that opted to type their own thing at the end. They just wrote in see addendum, but most of them used the form. So I think it worked successfully.
Good. Okay.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, we'll have our applicants come.
Oh, Linda?
My question is, I remember from last year, the day they speak to us,
Uh-huh.
and we'll divvy it up that day? That's what we did last time?
No, I think what will
Oh,
happen
Linda,
is-
you're being asked to please have your mic on so they can
Sorry.
hear you.
Yeah, basically, we're having the presentations in October, and then in November, we make the final decision, and then it goes in December to the city council.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's just easy to leave the mic on because we all forget to turn it on and off. For the audience, because they wouldn't have picked up on that, the question was, the television audience would not have heard the question.
Oh, well, the question she asked was whether we were going to make a determination on the applicants at our next meeting in October, but I indicated it would be in November.
Okay.
A quick question, do they know to come to next month's meeting, or do we have to tell them?
We have to call them.
It lists we're going to be calling them to encourage them, but in the application instructions, it urges them to do
Okay.
that also. So we're just kind of doing due diligence to try to get people here.
Great, thank you.
And sometimes they'll send a substitute if they can't make it. And they're not required to come, but we strongly urge them to come because we have always found that there are questions that we have about the grant. And it's good that they're here to answer those questions. And one of the questions that we are all being asked to ask this year when we call our applicants is, if they cannot get the full amount that they have asked for, will they be able to go forward with the project? Because that has caused us some trouble in the past. So we do want everyone to ask that question.
Yeah, that's an important question because basically we have requests for 21,600 and basically we now have 15,500, so we definitely need to make some cuts.
Right.
Yeah, it's in your packet.
Any other questions on the packages that Roger handed out? Okay, and thank you, Roger.
Sure.
Fantastic. Fantastic job, makes it so easy. Okay. City Gallery, Heather, do you have a report?
Well, Dana's work is going to stay up for the next 2 months. There were some problems getting artists who wanted to be here during the studio tours because they don't want to give up their work, which makes sense. So, and there was some confusion about the press release. So the press release just was announced in the paper this week. So having her up for a couple more months, I think, works. And from here, actually, the next show is going to be the Student Mentor Show. And then from after that, I think we're going to start showing some of the works from our permanent collection. And so, Barbara, I might need to have a meeting with you about what you really want to highlight.
Okay.
And we can organize that when the time comes. And I do want to clarify something, because actually Linda and I were meeting about a different topic, and she said, well, I'm disappointed to hear that you're closing City Gallery. We're not closing City Gallery, especially, and I'm sorry if there's some confusion with that. We're just not scheduling shows every 2 months. And we are going to be highlighting the permanent collection. We're still scheduling shows. We still have the plan from, the 3-year schedule, 5-year schedule, to expand the gallery and keep thinking about it. We're not closing it down. It's not being phased out in any manner. I just want to clarify.
Terrific, well said. Yeah, and I'm going to just hope that once more of the permanent collection is hung, perhaps at the beginning of next year, that there might be some thought to having some kind of gala reception for the public to see the new pieces that are being hung that they've really not seen before because they've been in storage.
Oh, I think
And
that's
it could be
great
a
idea.
really fun thing to have a party.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think we have 3 years of work that hasn't been shown yet.
Yeah, and so, why not take a breather and show
Yes.
that? I mean, we're not collecting it just to stick it in a back room.
Right. And I have another question about this, but I really think it's for you, Barbara, in this case. And that is, we talked about satellite locations, and can you tell us what the deal is? Because the library...
That's
Your report
part
coming
of
up?
a report coming up
So
for
we'll
art
wait.
acquisition.
Okay, so we'll wait on that. Good.
Okay.
There is one other thing. Along with the mentor show that's coming up, and I think I don't know if Linda, I'm kind of jumping the gun here on you too. I would like to also schedule a meeting with the mentor committee and Public Relations Committee about that show and how we're going to address that.
Yeah. And do let Michael Addison know, because he's the
Yeah.
chair of the mentor
So I'll,
program. Yeah.
One other thing.
One more thing.
We have a collection of drawings, 10 drawings by Alberta Finns that were part of the donation made with the Alberta Finns large piece. Those were given to us to sell, to, for the funds to go to the art fund or, some project. So I think that they're in storage, and I think we need to look at them and figure out a way to, to access a sale.
well, if we're going to do that, maybe we should have that be a part of, if we're going to have an event where we're highlighting the
Great
work,
idea,
why not have that part of
yes.
the gala? And maybe either auction it, or we'll figure out how to sell it or do
Okay. What a
something, but
great
make it really
idea.
fun.
We were talking about before.
Oh, that would be really cool. That'll
Yeah.
bring people out, too.
Yeah, I think so.
It needs to be framed, but, it's really good work.
Oh, I think that would be like, so
And
when,
it's possible to auction and sell those things without framing, too, because a lot of people would rather get a little less money and do their own framing,
Okay?
right?
so
Yeah.
when you and I meet, we can talk about that then.
Okay, I'm going to have a limited meeting time.
I know.
You know,
Stop reminding us.
okay.
Madam Chair, if I could just chime in on that really quick.
Sure.
And I don't think this is a major complicating issue, but any time that we sale or dispose of city property, we would need city council approval to do that. So just that we're aware that would need to be a step in the process before we could sell anything.
We would just put that in an item to be approved with the bulk approval items at a city council meeting?
I think we could put
But
that
we
on.
would
the
have to make a motion, have an action item to have it go to city council?
That's correct. It would need to be
Right.
acted on by the
So,
Arts Commission.
Heather, I want to ask you to keep track of that and bring that back at a future meeting to make sure that we have an action item and have it in time to city council, so that when we have this gala reception, we can have this incredible auction. Love that idea. That is cool.
Steve, when we accepted those, they were given to us under that, under that condition. I don't know if it was presented to city council that way.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to go
Okay.
back and check, and I doubt it.
We didn't even
All right,
have
well, we'll go
Yeah.
back.
we didn't have the donation procedures in place at that point, so
To your mic.
it's on.
Okay, they can't hear you, though. An aside. Okey dokey. Well, this is all good stuff. Barbara, public art.
Public art. We have been working on the guidelines, the new guidelines. Christine has written them, and we are working to perfect them. We met with Steve last week, and we're meeting tomorrow morning at 11 to continue the quest through the guidelines. But I think that it's going to be just a terrific improvement. Friday at 11.
Well, that is tomorrow. That's
Yes.
right.
So
What day of the
that's,
week it was.
that's what we've been working on. I sent out a notification to all the art consultants who were on our list and got changes of phone numbers and emails and all of that. And we've also added to that a list of art appraisers, because there are several times when an appraisal is needed, and we wanted to give some information on art appraisers as well. So all of that is more or less together, and it should be finished within the next month, right?
Now, if I have a question, if I have a question about the way it's currently being handled, who would we talk to about that?
Oh, can you be a little more specific? You have a question
well, I
about
could- and I'm
public
not-
development that's
Yeah, I guess
going
my-
in?
No, my question is, and I could be wrong about this, but it's my understanding at this time that when there's a development over a certain cost, that, so part of the money has to be allocated to public art, but they choose it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a way that that could be allocated to go into, say, more of a kitty for like?
Yes, that's an option, yeah. And,
It's
Oh, that is an option.
yes.
Yes, it is.
and
Oh,
Heather,
okay.
we would give you the guidelines for the public art ordinance and all that, but since we're retooling that, it makes more sense to wait, because the way it's written right now is pretty incomprehensible. So that's what we're doing, Barbara and I, and working with Steve, is that we're rewriting those guidelines so that when I read it, I understand it, and hopefully when a developer reads it, it's understood. And there's lots of little turns in the road on this. It's amazing, all the times that we have to go and refer to the municipal code and make sure that what we've written is compliant with that. And then what is it exactly that developers get? They get a packet, but the packet they get now, the first thing they pick up, doesn't mention public art at all. So we're also have some ideas about how to add something to that packet that they get, because they do get hit with it after the fact, and we don't think that that's appropriate. We want them to know right up front percentage for the arts. So it'll be clearer after we actually work our way through the mud, you know. Were you ever given a copy of the ordinance or of the guidelines when you came on
You'll
board?
be getting it.
You know, I'm going to suggest to all the chairs that they jot down a list of items that we should be giving to our new commissioners when they're seated. Now, I put together a packet and met with Heather that helped her get oriented, but there are probably a bazillion things, such as the public art ordinance, that I didn't put in there, that I should have put in there. So I'm going to ask all of you to help with that. Maybe you could just email me and tell me, what do you think our two new people should get in their packet of orientation materials?
The ordinance is in what is that packet? It gives you the job descriptions of the Arts Commission, and, Rhonda put together a whole packet, and it's in that. And that's what everyone needs,
You talking about
for sure.
this
Right.
book? Right.
Right.
Oh,
Did you get one of those, Heather?
I
Let's
don't
pass
think
it
I
down. We're going to pass it down. If you did not get it, please say so, and we'll get you one.
We
We'll get you one.
all got these. We did? We all
Well,
got
but
these.
maybe this last round, we didn't get to Heather. We
We have
don't
to
know,
get it
you know, you
again.
never know. But we
I'm
do,
not
we do
finished.
have new people coming up, so it's a good thing that we're going over this.
don't know if I have them.
So, in addition to the guidelines, there were a few other comments that I wanted to make, because I just want this to be in the minutes so that somebody will follow up on this at a later date. Plaques and labels. We are still missing a plaque at Seafresh. We discussed temporary art becoming permanent art at one time, and thought that that would be a good discussion to have, and I think that we should look into that. Also, no, that's about it, because I told you about the resource lists.
Barbara, can you be a little more explicit what you mean by temporary art becoming permanent art?
Do you remember the garbage sculpture by
Oh, like the garbage
Mata
sculpture,
Clark?
okay.
By who?
Or,
Gotcha.
what was,
Gordon Mata Clark.
yeah.
Oh, that one, yeah.
But it's a concept that we really need to address and to be able to answer
So you're talking
questions
about like
about.
installation art?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Okay, got it.
Installation art.
That's it.
Okay, fantastic, thank
Well,
you.
we still need to do murals, too. We still haven't done that.
I'm sorry, Linda, what was that? I can't even hear you.
We also need to do the murals. We never have done that, have we? Updated that? We're going to have some
What
kind of
mural is
guidelines
that?
for murals?
Pardon me?
People have wanted to do
Oh,
that.
a policy about murals?
Yeah.
Great, let's add that too, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure that you need that. I mean, a mural is a piece of public art and should be treated as such.
And now that you're saying that, I am recalling that when Mimi was still with us, that discussion came up, and it was what you said, that it was like, it would fall under the public art policies that are on.
Okay.
It'd be the same guidelines.
Okay,
So I'm going to cross it out again.
maybe we should put
But
that
it's good that
down
we
somewhere.
remembered that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad idea to let people know that then, because I don't think the public knows we have a policy that, you know, they can apply for murals.
Yeah, I think we should explore that a little bit further. I'm not sure that I have my brain wrapped around it. I know that it was something that the former chair and Commissioner Susan Stinsmuller-Naaman had brought up several times, that she did feel that the city needed some type of a policy to allow murals or to encourage murals. And I just don't know off the top of my head, you know, for example, if a business, well, that's probably not a good example, but the one that was always talked about as a great location would have been the theater wall. And I guess we're kind of glad that that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know if a property owner say, hey, I want to put a mural up, could they do that right now under the current planning regulations or not? I don't know.
Yeah,
So-
because of the sign, it's kind of an overlapping thing. That's what I'd
Exactly.
like some clarity on.
So I'm not sure either way. You may be correct, Commissioner Hirsch.
I think you're
but-
going to have great people doing public art, and it'll all get ironed out.
Yeah, and I think part of the idea, at least from former Commissioner Stinsmuller-Naaman, was to try to do something that would actually encourage and, you know, make that a little more as an available option.
I would really like this to be on a future agenda item from the Public Art Committee to talk about what would be the procedure that we would put forth so that artists could approach the commission with ideas for mural work, and then what would be the steps they would go through? Would they, I mean, would that fall then into public jury, which is in the ordinance, or would it fall into CAPA, which is part of the ordinance? So it, you know, you're right about this.
Would that be an
It's blurry.
appropriate topic to bring up at our joint meeting?
Yes, don't you think?
Sure.
Which we're having, we're coming up.
But why would it be different than any other piece of public art?
I don't think that's what Linda's talking about, is that the criteria and all that would be different. I think what she's talking about is, let's say somebody out there has an idea for the, in fact, there is an idea that's out there that was presented to me by, I believe, someone running for city council, who said, you have to go look at the side of the theater building because it's gorgeous. There are all these vents, these like window vents up on the top. Wouldn't it be great if somebody did a trompe l'oeil of that as a mural on the side of the building? This person was all excited about that. They had an idea for a mural to go on the theater building. But we don't, where do they take that idea? What are the steps? They're not a developer. The steps are real clear if you're a developer what you do. But what if you're just an artist in town and you want to do a mural? What steps do you take? That's what I think you're talking about, Linda. That's just like, we don't have that. Am I right? Am I reading what you're saying? Yeah.
Are they paying for it? Do they want to pay
That
for
would
it?
include how it gets paid for, but I would assume that that's something we'd want to talk about. If they applied, or could we hold some kind of a contest? In other words, if we took the money we have in the Public Arts Fund, could we call for,
An RFP, or
you know, what do you call those, RIFs?
Yeah.
Requests for
Proposal.
proposal, yeah. Could we do that, in which case we would be using public art funds? In other words, there's a lot to talk about. I think we have a really good discussion about that, exciting discussion about that.
maybe we could put it on the agenda just to open the discussion about it with our joint meeting, and then we could go from there, because it would, I would think it would take planning and the city council to get involved, don't you?
Yeah, I think we would need to do some research on the staff level too, just to kind of figure
Yeah.
out, you know, where do they currently exist in the code, and because obviously there's been some great examples done in other communities where they've
Oh, yeah,
used
Santa
murals
Paula.
to really improve the ambiance
Incredible
of the
murals.
downtown and other places in the city. So, but without some regulations, you could have people saying, well, I'm going to put up a sign that says,
Auto body.
Eat at Joe's.
Yeah.
And that's my mural, and you can't take it down. It's art, so.
Right. Well, I think that a procedure that could be used would be the one that was used when we had the changing art sculpture in the Arcade Plaza. So, you just couldn't go and put up a sculpture in the Arcade Plaza. It had to go through an entire review. It came here, we looked at the applicants. I would think that we could have a program like that for murals. I think it would be really, really exciting to do that.
Big grant. Could apply for a grant.
We should do that. Okay, we'll put that on an agenda. Anyone else want, thoughts about that? Barbara, more? More? Barbara's done? Okay. Linda, you're up.
Okay. Well, Heather and I met the other day, and we have a couple little things. Obviously, we're in flux right now with our comings and goings. But the first thing we thought of, we'd like to get some kind of a calendar going for our committee so that we know the flow of work and things don't drop through the cracks, and every year we know certain things are going to happen. And I looked all through my notes, and I know at one time we had a calendar of the year. Do we have that? Can I get it? Can you send a copy of that to Heather and myself, please?
Yeah.
Because it lists on there just what you're asking for.
Yes, and I looked and looked, and I couldn't find it. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it, so if Stevie, you would please send that to me?
Sure.
That'll tell you, I think, what
Yeah.
you need to know.
And
It's
then-
great starting place for you.
Okay, and then, so that covers the first thing. We were trying to get the a template for annual press that we're going to need every year that we have definite plans for. And then projects could come and go around that. And in that vein, we would like to know, Steve, if you know, or I emailed Barbara and she said she wasn't sure, when the last time the artist roster and the performing artists list has been updated.
I can answer that.
Oh, good.
The artist roster is updated continually,
I'll continue.
because every time we get a request, we send it to Shari, and she does it before you even finish writing the note to her. But I think it would be a good idea to send out some kind of a test message. And actually, we just sent out something, and what did we send out? Oh, we sent out a call for art for Community Memorial Hospital. And so we should ask Shari what came back.
Okay.
And those we need to update.
Okay, so I should follow through on that then?
Follow through with Shari.
Sherry, okay.
And we've never updated the performing arts.
We've never updated it?
Not, well, it's
Okay.
not that old.
Well, I know, but I
But
couldn't
it
remember.
needs to be updated every year
Year.
because the person in charge changes all the
Okay.
time.
Well, then we format our calendar, we'll put that on there.
Okay.
Okay, yearly for performing artists list. Okay. The other thing, I'm trying to think which would be better to raise, probably the schedule on the Art 21. That was the next thing I wanted to bring up. Since I took them down, I had them listed on the public calendar.
Took them down.
I took
Good.
them down because I knew that the theater, which was our venue, isn't, it's not available right now. And I didn't know if anybody had any thoughts about an alternative venue or doing it later in the
I do.
season. Oh, good. You want to
Now?
hold forth on that? Yeah, I think we should talk about it now.
Art 21 Season 7 is going to be presented on PBS on October 24th. We were going to have the first show before they started that, but, we're not. It just occurred to me that there is a location that we could use, and that is the Jewish community of Ojai Temple has a screen and a projector, and can seat up to 200 people if necessary. And I know that we could use that.
Okay, great.
But I need to arrange it
Okay,
and let you know.
okay.
I think that perhaps we should start that in January.
Okay, that sounds good.
because we're coming up, you
Okay.
know, on holidays and
Need a
things like
note.
that. So I'll let you know.
January screenings, yes. And we'll pick a couple dates, and then we can start the press from there.
Okay.
That's perfect. Okay. Okay, so, and that kind of ties in when we're talking about these scheduling things. That kind of ties in with what Heather raised earlier about being aware of, which one, it was the arts education program. Which one was the one we had to ask about?
The mentor.
The mentor, because that seems to be the only committee that we don't really have. One of us sits on almost every committee except for that one. So maybe when they're meeting about scheduling issues, they could notify us, so one of us could be there. Just for that scheduling one, so we could get the press rolling, because it's too hard to do if we wait till we see the next month, and then we're not in on the planning, and I think it would be helpful if we just knew what was going on at the start.
Yeah, I think that would be a good precedent to set, that every scheduling meeting, there's someone from public relations there.
Okay, so that was one request, and let's see. I had forwarded to Steve. Did you get the second forward? I sent you another copy of that document.
I got it late this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Oh, you didn't copy it? I was hoping, I should have asked you to copy it.
Oh, I didn't realize you were asking for that for this meeting.
Yeah, okay. Can I read it? Is that okay? Can I talk about what it is, and then we'll just read it? Maybe you can read it. Heather and I were talking about trying to grow the website and get people aware of it. And one of the things we've been talking about doing is going to meetings of Chamber of Commerce, which are on the same night usually as this meeting. But Heather volunteered to go to the next one, correct?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think it's next week or something.
I don't know. But anyway, we've got them on our calendar now, and Heather's going to go to the next one. And hopefully we'll piggyback. One of us will go to each one of those chambers and hand out cards for the website.
Yeah, I need cards.
Yes.
Steve, is it possible to get like a little handful of cards?
Sure, if you could remind me before you leave tonight, I can grab them for you.
Got them in the office.
Are you talking about the chamber monthly party that they have?
The mixer?
The
The mixer?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the reason we
It
want.
is the same night that we have our meetings. That's why, because I was the one to represent the Arts Commission at those, but I can't go because it's on this night.
I thought it was next week for some reason.
Once in a while,
It
it
doesn't.
falls a week later, but not very often.
But it's
almost
early.
always the same night as our meeting.
Yeah, but it's an hour earlier or
Yeah,
something.
but anybody can go to that. Anybody on the commission can go to that because we're members.
But we wanted to make a point to go to hand out cards so people will use the website.
Great
'Cause I
idea.
can't tell you how many times I've told people. and
Where's
they
the
have
next
no
one being held?
I think in Miners Oaks somewhere.
idea. At the hardware.
Oh, at the Hearst.
Miners Oaks Hardware?
I think that's what I saw, but maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, that
don't
sounds awesome.
Anyway,
Okay.
maybe they'll give you something really useful for a basket. And
In there with the lawnmowers.
Okay, so the other thing is this letter that I sent to Steve, and we were talking about how if we have this website, all these people are getting the benefit of having their events listed from us. And half of them maybe don't even know that, but half of them do. And what we're going to do, which I would like to do, is send out a letter that says, in a nice way, that we are providing this service free of charge as part of our mission as an arts commission to list your events. And we would like, in return, in the same spirit of cooperation, to have a link on your website to our calendar. So that was kind of what I'm proposing. And if you want, do you want to read that, or you want me to read it, the letter?
I wasn't able to read it before, so I'm not even sure.
Oh, I thought you had it printed out. Okay.
We don't have copies for
No,
everybody? Can we bring it back next
I
time?
got this at 5:50
Oh, I'm
from
sorry.
you.
Yeah, I'm
Can
sorry.
we bring this back next time? Can we bring it back next time so we
Well,
can all
I
have- look at
didn't
the
know if I
letter?
needed to bring it back. That's what I'm kind of asking. Do
Yeah, I
need-
think you need to bring it back so we can all see the letter.
Okay, I was going to go through him, but, okay. So I'll bring it
No,
back.
it's from the commission, so the whole commission should see it, know that it's going out there.
Okay. All right, so I was going to send
So we'll
that
bring
out.
that back, because there'll be an action item on that. It'll be that we all take an action to
Okay.
approve that letter goes out.
So maybe you could just include that in the packet then.
That needs to go as an action item then in the next meeting, the letter.
Well, I'm
Can we
glad
get email copies of that ahead of time so we can take a good look at it? And then if we have any suggestions, we can get it to Linda and she can make adjustments if she needs to, or who's doing it, Linda or Heather? the
I
letter?
already did
You
it,
are?
so, yeah.
Okay. Is that possible? You email it to everybody?
Yeah, we can send it out, sure.
And let's see. Is there anything else? I think that's it. Melanie, anything else? I think that's it. Yes?
I had a question.
Yes, I
Great
think that's it.
report.
Okay. Any questions about anything?
Actually, I had a comment that was back on this. Actually, it was when Commissioner Hirsch was talking about trying to find a location for the Art 21. And just another potential location to consider. We do now have a drop-down screen and a sound system at the multipurpose room at Sarzati.
Oh.
In the Boyd Room. We do our family nights there, and it's worked out pretty well. So it's pretty state-of-the-art. Obviously, that we'd have to work out some scheduling.
Yeah,
because
that's what I was going to ask.
the room does get used fairly often, but usually those are done on the weekends, right? Your Art 21,
Well,
so,
we only did it on the weekend
Yeah.
because that's the only time that we could do it at the theater.
Yeah.
But we could do it at a better time.
anyways, I just wanted to throw that out
That's
there
great.
as
Great
another
idea.
potential location.
One of the things I was kind of sad about is that it couldn't happen this year, because the whole idea behind doing this was, I was hoping we could kind of promote it as a shopping in Ojai Day, go see an
Yes.
art film, have some lunch,
Well,
shop
that's
some
what
more.
we thought.
But next year.
We wanted it to be kind of a walk-in and then go about your day.
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
think that we'll go back to second Saturday once the theater is back open, because it was just kind of a catchy phrase and a great idea to have it on a Saturday morning and encourage people to hang around town.
But I think that's a great idea, too, on the
Yeah.
other location.
Boyd Center, okay. Michael's not here, but I know that there are a lot of things going on right now with the Artist Mentor Program, and that the City Gallery wants to contact Michael to make sure you guys are coordinated on whatever is going to be exhibited or not exhibited. And then, of course, PR, we would want to get a really good article out there encouraging the public to come. I think the people who were here last year and saw, I know, Barbara, you missed it, but I'm telling you, the people that were here were blown out of the water by the presentations that were done by the students that worked with their mentors. It gave us all goosebumps. So, get the word out that this is something to come to at City Hall. There's really, I hope I see all the city council members here this year. The ones who were here last year know it was well worth the time. Wonderful program. So that's coming up for Artist Mentor Program. Barbara, did you want to say something?
No, is that October 16th?
Would be our October meeting.
Well,
So whatever that Thursday is, would be the reception date, and we would be starting at 5.
For some reason, I had that the gallery was in the schedule that we had that it was hanging November 15th, but that's no problem. We can move that.
It's really up to you guys, but do let us know. Is it going to be October or November?
I think.
You need to talk to Michael, I think, on
Yeah,
that.
it's
Announced
It-
for October.
Last year it was in November.
Oh, okay, it was announced for October. Okay, so then we'll do
Yeah.
that.
This
But
is what,
last year it did happen in November, because we felt we couldn't get it ready that quickly. So talk to Michael.
this is kind of what I mean. I haven't gotten any information about that to write the article, and I'd like to have all of that, because I'd like to be able to talk to the artists and the students ahead of time.
Would
to
you
put in-
please email Michael and
Okay.
Well,
let
yeah,
him
why
know
don't-
you need
Why don't
that?
we plan on trying to do a joint meeting as soon as possible then?
Great idea.
Yeah, I'll do that.
You know, if you have that meeting, it will be a public meeting here at City Hall so that it can be agendized and posted, and you need to have the agenda up and posted ahead of time. That's a Brown Act meeting.
Yes, we know.
So, just reminding you of that lovely little thing. Okay, good job tonight. We're just moving right along. And I'm very excited because the Ecstatic Dance DJ is at the Art Center tonight. And so when the meeting is over, I have my dancing shoes on, and I will be going over there and doing ecstatic dance. So, yes! That's a form of art, too, doing my job. I have comments, and I'll go last, but I have a number of comments. But Heather, do you have any commissioner comments tonight?
What about
What did I
art
skip?
acquisitions?
All kinds of stuff.
What did I skip?
Art acquisitions?
Awards and Arts Ojai.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I want to dance. Let's go back to art acquisitions. I don't know how I did that.
Okay, I'll start that. I'll start
Checked them all
that.
off.
I spoke to Richard Franklin, and he is going to be delivering the post for the peace
Oh, yes,
poll
right.
on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, and hopefully Steve will be here. Do we, Public Works is going to be installing it,
We're
right?
working on getting that all done, yeah.
And then the art part of it, the other part is going to be put on just before the
Correct.
opening.
Mr. Franklin will be doing that
Yes.
part of the installation.
Yes.
So the date of that again is?
October 21st.
October 21st is, yeah.
10
Linda
o'clock in the
is gonna-
morning?
Linda is going to tell you about the dedication,
Oh,
right?
Okay.
10:30 is the time.
10:30?
Yeah.
It's on the 20th?
21st, which is a what day of the week? Does anyone know?
Looks like a Tuesday.
So
October
Wednesday, I think.
21st.
Or do
Is
I
it a
have that-
Wednesday?
Well, the 21st is a Tuesday.
Oh, well,
All
hang
right,
on
so
a
it's
second.
Tuesday, October 21st, 10:30 a.m.,
Hang on a second, maybe I got my.
and it's right here. Linda, can you kind of describe where people would go who are listening out there and want to come to this
I
dedication?
will. Are you done? I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying.
No, I have other things, but this is
We
about.
wanted
you
you
want
to pick
okay.
it up here.
All right. Well, there's been a little confusion because this peace poll is separate from another peace poll that Marta Nelson has been the spearhead behind getting this peace poll put here at the City Hall, as we all know. And she is involved with another peace poll at the Greg Gables. So there's a little confusion going on the dates. That's why we were all confused.
No, it's the 21st.
It's the 21st.
21st of October
Yes.
for City Hall, not
Yes.
the other one.
And it's a Tuesday, sorry. I just
Okay.
got the date
All right.
mixed up.
And it's at 10 o'clock, correct?
10:30.
10:30.
10:30. I have all the dates, but they're in the article I wrote, that hasn't come out yet. So there's a couple things going on. I was approached by Marta as a private citizen to write a press release she has several events around International Day of Peace, which I wrote. But that did not get in the paper. So the article in the paper was written by somebody else, I think from the studio,
That's correct.
The
I've had
studio
a conversation with the editor of the paper, and I
Okay.
know who wrote it.
I think it was from the studio artist, so it's a little confusing, but there are more than one ceremonies and dedications going on, and the public is welcome at both. Ours at the City Hall is going to be October 21st, I don't want to get this wrong, at 10:30, and it'll be outside the City Hall here, right at the corner of the gardens in the back. It's right on a triangular piece of property that, as you go into the, there's a, what would you call that, breezeway? There's a breezeway,
Like a gazebo or.
Gazebo,
yeah,
kind of.
Whatever, kind of, yeah.
that looks over the tennis courts, and on that triangular piece of property, it'll be right there. And she's going to hopefully have a bigger article in the paper, exactly what's going to happen. So she's kind of in transition about planning it, but she's going to have a nice ceremony. She wants to get Julie Tuamate to come. I don't know if that's been arranged yet. That's why I wasn't going to talk about it tonight, because I'm not sure what's been finalized. So that's here for that peace poll that she applied to the city, and that is a donation that was approved and went through our new donation procedures. Do you want me to talk about the other one too, or not? Might as well.
The other one, what?
The other peace poll dedication.
The one that's not about
It's a
our commission
celebration.
one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why don't you wait on that, and that can be under commissioner
Okay,
comments. So
all
that
right,
we're
that
real
sounds
clear
good.
on
That
the
sounds
one that
perfect.
we're doing.
I like
and-
that.
Yeah. Is that okay?
All right.
Okay.
So I will be writing another press release when we're closer to the dates and we can announce it, is my feeling from the city. That should come from the city at that point.
Absolutely.
planning on
yeah.
doing that.
And we will meet again before that happens, because our meeting is October 16th, so that's
That's
where
right.
you can update us then on anything that's changed or whatever.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you, Linda, for following up with that. Back to Barbara.
Okay. The satellite program that we mentioned before falls under the Art Acquisition Committee. it was my feeling that we had a lot of riches to share, and that we should have a piece of art or several pieces of art in different places throughout the city. And programs could be developed around the pieces as well. I mean, the artist could give a talk, and it might involve some topic that's of current interest to the city of Ojai. So the place that we settled on was the library, and Mary Lynch, the librarian, the head librarian, and I met about a year ago and determined a good spot over the fireplace for one piece. And John Lambert, who is the head of the board, is very much in favor of our doing this. We haven't had the time to select a piece and arrange for installation. That's what we need to do. So when we're putting together the pieces that are going to be shown here in City Hall, then we can also decide on the satellite piece and work that out with the library. So it's all set up. We just have to do it.
How big is the space?
Quite big. It's probably,
it's-
it's taller than the space where that TV
Yeah,
is. It's about that
it's a
wide.
little bit shaped like
Yeah,
this.
but it is a lot taller.
Yeah. So it's a big, a large piece can go there.
Linda, I'm looking at our standing committee for acquisitions right now, because I think that this project falls under, that's why I said Linda, falls under acquisitions, right? So you're going to have 2 new people working with you on that, and I know you already have a huge load with what you're chairing, so I don't want to ask you to do that, to be chair of that committee, but I would ask you to mentor the 2 new people who will be working with you on that committee. Another thing to think about is whether or not we want to mix up our committees because we have 2 new people coming on board. So that's just something for everyone to think about, because we should get that done. I mean, that's really,
Well, hopefully we can start it before Barbara leaves.
yes, Barbara. You can't go.
There is a piece up for donation. Do you have the piece, Steve?
So this is the item that I think you wanted to consider adding as an urgency item to the
Yes.
agenda. So in order to do that, it has to meet 2 conditions. So you can discuss an item that was not previously placed on the agenda if, 1, it cannot reasonably wait for the next regularly scheduled meeting, and secondly, the need for immediate action also would have had to have come to the attention of the agency or commission after the agenda had been posted. So if you feel that it meets those 2 conditions, the commission could take a vote. The Brown Act requires to add an urgency item that 2/3 of the body approve it. And there is at least 2/3 of the body is here, so then 2/3 of that vote has to approve it. So that would mean at least 4 of the 5 of you would need to vote in favor of that in order to add that as an urgency item to the agenda.
Are we talking about the whole treasure?
So,
No, we're not. We're talking about the donation of the Phil Harvey works, I believe. Is that right?
right, and I
It's been
have,
outstanding for several meetings to actually accept the donation from Phil, and we neglected to get it into the agenda, and Steve has said we could do this as an emergency item. We can add it to the... with
urgency, not emergency. That's
Urgency,
different.
it's an urgent emergency.
Wait, is this a donation from Myrna Cambianica?
I can
Or
s-
is it a donation from Phil Harvey?
I can speak to that because I was there.
Well,
It is a combination, donation, because it's Phil's original image, but she had to spend so much time cleaning it up. She cleaned it up herself, hours and hours. She printed it, which took a considerable amount, and she had it framed. So it's kind of a combination. That's what I was,
Do we not have it to view?
I have the handout here and a little card that she submitted.
But I mean the piece, isn't that in your
Piece.
office?
I didn't know if that was the
Oh,
actual piece.
yeah,
or
that's the piece. We'd like to see it.
Yes.
So while we're waiting for that, why don't we go ahead and we will look in our packets at the revised donation procedures. They've come back, I think this is the third time they've come back with corrections.
It's not revised.
Oh, don't tell me that. No, I sent him a revised copy. All right, let's look at it, and what does it have to say then? It's the second to the last, no, it's the last page in your packet?
The last 2 pages.
They're saying that this is the wrong copy, it's not the revised one.
I don't know.
Oh, wait. No,
It's actually the last, there are 2 sheets, there's 2 sheets, item 6II, we went to that for a minute.
No, it's,
Application, donation, or loan of artwork to the city of Ojai, does everybody find that in their packet?
Yep.
Okay, so what is not,
these are the things that we said
all
we
right, Barbara,
needed
would
to
you
change.
do it into there so I can get it?
I'm recommending that we bring this back to the next meeting because
Okay, and what is it
it's
that
not
needs to be
correct.
fixed?
it's in the minutes of the last meeting. There are several different things.
I remember that what needed to be adjusted was to take out the language that said that the full body had to be there, and to add in
Oh.
that there should be at least 6.
Who was charged with making the corrections?
I did it for Mimi because she had exited at that time.
I'm making a recommendation that we extend this to the next meeting.
Do you have a correction, though, that we can get in here?
They're already,
Let's go back to the minutes. Where are the minutes?
these minutes?
Because I know that I
Today's-
don't, I see the line is
today's
out that
minutes.
was supposed to
September.
go out.
No, it wasn't done.
They're on this, I think.
It was in paragraph 2, originally it had said, make a recommendation to the full Arts Commission. And that was, the edit was to take out the language that said the full Arts Commission, and that was taken out, as you see, in paragraph 2.
Okay. It says, the last paragraph, the first sentence, make bold, note that the city has limited reasons, you know, so this thing needs to be bolded. The fourth paragraph, remove the instrument of conveyance,
So bold paragraph 4,
yeah.
eliminate the words instrument of conveyance, delete
Conveyance.
those. Okay. We will bring this back. Anything else, Barbara?
What else does it say in here? I haven't really been involved in that, so,
Well, I know that in the second paragraph, that was the note that I had, was to get rid of that it was the full it was the full committee, the full Arts
Can't we
Commission.
just bring it back
We
next
took it
month?
back.
yeah, let's
Well,
bring
but
it-
we need to know from her what
Bring
the
it back.
corrections are, so I can make those corrections and bring back a corrected copy.
um,
Right?
right.
If you think of
That's
something
it.
else, just.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. All right, so I'll do that. We'll bring it
I
back.
have some more stuff.
No, I have to go back to where we were.
I somehow missed those corrections. Sorry. Corrections, let's bring back.
At the last meeting that Paul was here, he asked for the municipal art collection work. This is what, I've been working on this for a long time. It is not complete, but I'm returning these now to Linda or to Steve, and whoever is going to be here will start working on this.
Okay.
I'll be available for, to help with training somebody,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
But most of the information is in these two
Right.
notebooks. And that's it.
Okay, can we say right now, so it's noted where they're going to go, the
I think
binders?
Steve should keep them in his office.
Okay.
Did we get the print?
Okay, Barbara, anything else?
That's it.
All right, so now we're going to go to the Phil Harvey.
I don't know. I let you know when I got the packet, and it never got picked up, so I don't know.
We don't have the
I do not know, Christine, what was expected. I have not been
No.
no, I mean the
directly
actual paintings, aren't they in the brown paper wrapping in your office?
No, those are the Phil Harvey pieces that we
Don't know.
purchased.
Yeah, those are not.
This is about a donation.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm so confused.
I am
Amy
too.
is-
I'm very
Amy is
confused.
handling this. That's why it's confused, so. Because it kind of, I don't know. I don't think we're ready to act on it. I think we need to bring it back. Because I.
Okay, let's bring it back. What do we need to do so that when we bring this back, we can move
Well, I have
forward?
to find out if this is, if she did another print just for us that's unframed, or if,
Okay.
and if that's the case, I don't know.
So Linda, can I call on you at the next meeting then, and you'll have got all the ducks in a row on that? Because I don't have I'm confused too. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, so
Can I-
we'll bring it back, and Linda will do
Can I
it.
pass out the information that was submitted with it,
Yes.
just that you have that now? So there are 2 copies of each.
So we take one of
crossed.
each of these? Okay.
They're together, so just take the.
Oh, just take a
2.
pack from the top.
Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. All right, so Linda's going to get all the ducks in a row on this and bring it back at the October meeting, and we don't have an urgency item then
Much
tonight.
better.
Very good. Linda will bring back.
I don't know, but I'm really kind of confused.
Okay.
I've got it down.
Does anyone else have any questions for Linda on that item before we move on? As we're going to have a full discussion in October on that. Okay. Bring your blankets for the October meeting, because with the grants and everything else, we're going to have a long meeting.
Did we show the Phil Harvey pieces last month? I thought we did. Has everyone seen the photographs?
They were laying over
Yeah,
there.
okay. They're in Steve's office right now.
Okay. And that's a done deal.
Yes.
Okay. That's why I was confused. I thought it was those paintings we were talking about this whole time.
Ah, I see.
That's what I thought it was.
And I
I
had
didn't
no
realize
clue.
there was a whole nother thing going on here.
We just have too much good art.
We have too much going on. Okay, anything else from Art Acquisitions, Barbara? I think we had a lot there.
I do
Got a
have
lot of
an
notes.
invoice for the Phil Harvey pieces, but I think I gave you, I think this is a copy for the framing,
I'm gonna pass it to Stu.
I'd have to look at it.
but you keep it. It's yours.
Well, it's, yeah.
We paid this, though?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure. it's-
yeah, because this was last fiscal year, so we definitely processed that.
Framed.
Okay, so I guess that's your copy then, Steve.
I should have
It's
another.
amazing.
Okay, I think we're done with Art Acquisitions? No, yes, maybe so.
There's, when Steve and I were looking through some paperwork, we came across an invoice that we believe was paid out of the Public Art Fund rather than the Acquisition Fund. This was in 2011. And I've been holding on to this sheet of paper. We were going to research this, but that is not a good thing because the Public Art Fund, and it's $900. The Public Art Fund is, you know, for public art, it's,
Yeah.
That's the deal.
this should have been from our
Yes, Commissioner Hirsch, as I explained to you,
budget.
that was changed after I had submitted it, and we only found it when we got the flyer from the finance department. So that was not an action that I took, but we'll work to get it
No,
fixed.
I know that you
Yeah,
didn't.
okay.
But
Yeah, we'll get
is
it-
it something that we should make the city manager aware of, or what should we do?
Well, let's just get the problem fixed and get it
Okay.
rectified, and I think we can go forward
Come
from
back
there.
at the next meeting with let us know what happens with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I say something? I just investigated the packet a little bit more, and the paperwork in there says framed, so I think there must be a framed one somewhere, but it's not in your office?
I don't know, you're happy to look, but
Okay.
all
We'll
I
look
ever, all
afterwards.
that I ever saw was this manila envelope that had
What year was that?
what I just showed you in it. That's
Okay.
all I ever saw,
All
so.
right, okay, thank you.
It's, but art moves in and out of my office all the time, so it's possible maybe something's in there that I'm not aware of.
Okay, okay, all right. We're tabling the discussion for the Hope Fraser Award. We're tabling any information that we would have gotten from Michael on the Artist Mentor Program at this point for October. And if indeed that is going to be the reception, then we're going to be looking to get information on that reception in our mailboxes, in our email mailboxes, because we will not have had a meeting prior to that. It'll be actually at our next meeting. So let us know as soon as you can, because it's a 5 o'clock showtime for that.
I'll contact Michael.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of hoping you guys decide to let it go for November, so you have a little more planning time. Yeah, and so is Roger, so we'll just put a little vote in there. Okay, commissioner comments. Did I skip anything? Okay, Heather, any commissioner comments tonight? No? Roger?
Well, I did get an email about the, one of the grants money coming back, and I don't know if that needs to be discussed tonight or...
Well, I would recommend if it's something that the Arts Commission wants to discuss, and I would think that they would, that you could give direction to put it on the October agenda.
Okay.
Yes, but were we not, you and I talked about that if we put it on the agenda to accept, it's $2,000?
I believe it's 1,000.
I think it's 1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah.
That's coming back from Francesca Beach, who unfortunately has taken ill and is not able to follow through with her project. She's returning the $1,000. So at the next meeting, we would like an action item
Right.
that we can fold that $1,000 into this year's grant. So you are really hitting pay dirt this year, or we all are.
I'll have to do a little research, because it's actually last fiscal year money.
Yes, and, but,
So I'll have to look into that.
but the check is this year that she's returning to us, so there it is. Paul, can we have that $1,000 that she's returning?
That's not my department.
Oh, come on, Paul.
You know, if you just left it to me, I'd say yes, but
Well, I am.
I don't know, I don't know the proper financial accounting methods for cities enough to know if you get a refund from something that was a prior year expenditure, what you do with it. So I would be lost if I
Right, I
even
think there's precedent.
hinted on it.
I think this happened once before.
Yeah, but we can figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it has to go back in the last fiscal year, that doesn't mean you couldn't make a request to get an additional 1,000 monies allocated or something like that.
My
So-
thought is that there's a way to work it out that you
Exactly.
can get it back.
I would agree.
Okay, so next month, we'll have Steve give us a report on whether or not we can take that $1,000 of the Senga Classic Theater money and give it to the grants for the 2015. Thank you. Whew. Linda.
And other options.
One thing that did come up, that I forgot to bring up in our PR, was that I like everything that comes from this committee, or this commission, to go through, and I think it should go through Steve before it goes out. So anytime anybody sees an article like that, I wouldn't have sent it out, I would have let you see it first. I just wanted to make that point.
You're wonderful about that.
Because there was a little confusion on whether it needed to go to Steve first. I think anybody that writes anything that represents us needs to go through them. So,
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Barbara?
Well, I just want to say that it's been a fabulous 8 years, and
We're not gonna see you
I've
next month?
enjoyed- You want me to come back next month?
Yes. I was going to remind Barbara that her resignation is effective December 1st.
Well, unless we have new commissioners before that, right?
We cannot sit one of those commissioners until your resignation goes into effect. So we might have one sitting here, but not both until after that. So we would like you to come back. even though we want you to come back, we do have a little card for you tonight, though,
Oh.
from us, so we're going to give you that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
And will you be here next month so we can all make wonderful speeches?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know, I might be out of town.
We're probably just going to have an off-campus party for you then. All those in favor? I'll be arranging that. Okay.
I'm going
Did
to
you
read this
wanna-
in private.
I didn't want to
I'm gonna
interrupt
read
your
this in
comments,
private.
but go ahead.
No, but I just wanted to thank the city and all of you, because we've had an incredible team. And, you know, I mean, it's almost like family. And, you know, I feel like my car just automatically goes to City Hall, you know? So I'll be available, you know, for anything that you need from me,
Yeah, and-
except being on the commission.
Except showing up for meetings. And Barbara has agreed to continue to work with me and Steve on the
On the
revision of the
guidelines.
guidelines, which,
Yes.
thank goodness for that. I couldn't do it without her, so we're going to stay in touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll come to the reception for sure.
You'll have wonderful
Please come to
new
the reception.
members, and it'll infuse new enthusiasm and creativity.
Yes. And that's a nice segue into just noting for all of you that we have an applicant sitting in the audience tonight. Bobby Balderman is out there, and she has spent some time studying our website. She's been brave enough to actually watch some of our meetings on YouTube. And then she actually decided she wanted to come to a real live one tonight, so she's out there in the audience. Welcome, Bobby. It's nice to see you out there. Fountain being off, this really is a question for you, Paul, that maybe you can address when it's time for comments from you. I have heard that because of the drought, that is the reason the fountains have been turned off. The Matilah Poppy Fountain in the arcade is a work of art, and my understanding is that if a fountain recirculates water, that there is no need to turn it off because you're not resupplying the water to it. So maybe not right away, but when it's your turn, I'd love to get a little feedback on you as to, it kind of breaks my heart a little when I walk by there and there's no water coming out of that, because I love that sculpture. So I have a question about that. I wanted to let everybody know that, John Slade. John Slade has been nominated for a Grammy Award for I Sing Walt Whitman. And I kind of feel like we own that a little bit with him. I know we don't, but he was one of the mentors last year that worked with a young man who came and did the one who did the Bob Dylan singing. So, I mean, wow, that is just so incredible to have heard that. And last, but certainly not least, is Steve and I had a long conversation about this. We're doing what we can, when I take notes on the pad here, to know what action items are coming up from the different committees, because I know it's a whole nother level of activity on your parts to really be on top of getting things to us that need to go on the agenda. But as you heard tonight, we had the issue with, can we do an emergency item, because it wasn't agendized. Urgency item. So we are going to renege that we're totally in charge of making sure we know what items you want on the agenda, and we're going to ask each of you as a chair to please note for yourself what you need to remind us to put on the agenda as an action item for your committee. So it's one email that goes to Steve. If you don't even bother to carbon copy me, he will. But we're going to ask each of the chairs to take a little more responsibility in getting that out to us, and we need to have it a good week. More time is better, but a good week prior to the agenda being published. So what would you say, Steve, would be the timeline on that?
Well, we usually put the agenda out towards the later part of the week, so.
The week before the meeting.
Right, so we would want something by Tuesday, Wednesday, the latest.
Of the week before the meeting. So tonight, I did take notes, and I will go through and I'll make a list out of all this of what I remember the action items, and, you know, as best as I can do. But we both need more than that. We need your help. because we're missing some of them.
Well, and part of it, I have to apologize, I had a bit of a medical emergency on Friday, and everything got
Stubbed
thrown
his
off. and-
toe.
Well, I got in, it was a little more than that, but anyways. So things were a little crazy this Friday, and typically we're a little more on top of the agenda than that, so.
It was more than a stub toe, but it sounds funny that way, so. That's it for me. Oh, no, there is one more thing, I'm sorry. The article that came out in Wednesday's paper in the Arts and Entertainment section was written, I understand from, I talked to Tim Dewar. Susan Scott from OSA wrote that article. My best guess is that Marta Nelson probably overheard some excitement about the possibility that we might develop the area back there, and she probably mentioned that to Susan, thinking that it was a done deal. But the paper will print a retraction that there is no new sculpture garden being installed on Ojai City Hall grounds. And I particularly wanted Paul to know that we had caught that error, and then a retraction will go into the paper on that. So good eyes for the person who saw that. I think it was Barbara who saw that that was a misprint in there. So it's all been taken care of.
Good.
That's it. Paul?
Well, as always, it's always a pleasure to come and sit in on this commission. It's one of my favorite ones because I do feel so deeply about the arts in Ojai and how important they are. So thank you for all your dedication. Heather, you're a welcome addition.
Oh, thank you.
This is the last month that this will be the last month that I'm here because it's the end of the quarter. So I don't know where I'll be going on to be the liaison for the fourth quarter. But I do want to thank everybody for their hard work. And Barbara, what in the world are we ever going to do without you?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, you are, without a doubt, my feeling of what is very best in our commissioners. Your dedication, your commitment to what this commission is about has been one of the highlights of the time that I've been on the council and being the liaison. It's a pleasure to have worked with you. And I'm sorry you're going, but 8 years, we've certainly benefited from it. And as I've said, your dedication and your commitment to the arts of Ojai has been felt for the last 8 years, and it's going to be felt well into the future for all the work that you've done. So thank you very much.
Hear, hear.
I don't know the answer about the fountain. I know that the governor had said that all fountains were going to be turned off, but I don't know how many fountains there are that don't recirculate water. I mean, I think most of them do, don't they? I know you have to fill them because there's an evaporation of them, but I don't know about the situation. I have not seen any of the regulations that came down about shutting fountains off. I would imagine that Greg Grant in the Public Works Department probably has a pretty good idea about that. So you might give him a call. But I agree, I consider all fountains to be pieces of artwork, but the one particularly with the poppy is a significant piece of artwork, and it's tough to see that not have water
It
on.
really is. Is the Libby Bowl fountain off?
I believe so, yeah.
Wow, what a shame.
Well, if everybody has swimming
Although the
pools-
fountain here in City Hall wasn't off when I came in today.
There was an article in the LA Times about swimming pools where they were saying they really, did you read that? So I can't imagine that little tiny sculpture is
Yeah.
going to lose a lot of water.
I can't imagine either, but
What it said was the swimming pool used less water than a small lawn.
Wow, a small lawn.
Yeah.
wow.
How do we find out about that, Steve?
Well,
Oh, Greg Grant.
Yeah, I can tell
Okay.
you that they were shut down to try to save water as a result of the drought.
So there was no action on the part of city council, it was just a decision made by Public Works?
Well, I can't remember whether it was announced to us or not, but there was some discussion about the governor having put down an edict. And I can't remember whether it was a discussion that I just had with staff or whether it actually came before us at the council. There was no formal action taken by the council
Okay.
because there really wouldn't have been anything we would have formally done if the governor said you have to shut off fountains, you have to shut them off. One other thing that I'll mention is that I don't know whether you're aware that one of the old Ojai, I shouldn't say old, but someone who had been in Ojai as an artist for a long time, is back with a studio, and that's Howard Lamar. He has a studio with some really, really large pieces of artwork and pots. And he has his studio is above Las Caporales, up on the, you go upstairs and there's a patio, and every once in a while, if you look over there, you can actually see him out there painting. But then you go in and he's got that almost the entire top floor. And I've been in to see it a couple of times, and he's got some magnificent pieces in there, big pieces, 12 by 20, and pots that are 6 and 8 feet tall.
Oh, gee.
That have been done by I can't remember the individual who he told me was the master potter that actually did the pots for him, that he's painting on, and they're beautiful. So if he's generally around on the weekends, he still lives in Montecito, but he wants to have much more time here in Ojai. And when I see him painting, I always go up because I love to watch. So if you ever see him up there, just walk up. And sometimes if I've even gone over there just to see if he's there on the weekend, because it's not a gallery where people are coming in to necessarily buy pieces. It's more of a working studio.
We have 2 of his pieces.
Do we? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
One in your
One hanging in the
Yes.
hall right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all I have. Do you have any questions or anything? No? Welcome again, Heather.
Oh, thank you.
We're interviewing on Monday, I believe.
Yeah, is it Monday coming up?
I believe so, for,
It's Monday coming up.
Mhm.
We have 3 candidates.
yeah.
Um,
And I'm
See what happens.
happy that I'm going to be participating in the interviews.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky to have Carlin and Paul
Yeah.
leading.
Yeah. You're the leader.
I know.
Thank you
I have
again for all
prepared
your hard work.
questions. All right, Steve?
Just one thing, and I don't think I passed this along yet, but I had a quiet day a couple of months ago, and I put together a history of the Ojai, of the grants that we've awarded. I think I may have sent it to you, Roger.
Oh, nice.
But if not, I'll provide a hard copy to everybody.
Oh, please.
But it's the history from 2010 through 2014. I was
that'd
only
be
able to go back that far, but at least captures the most recent. So I'll get you copies of
Press
that.
release.
have a copy too for the website?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You bet. Yeah,
That's good.
be happy to.
Okay, anything else? All right, well, wonderful meeting. I am assuming that we're going to see Barbara next month, at least at the reception, that we're going to see her again at the reception so that we can continue feting her for her incredible service to the commission. It's just really hard to imagine you not being here. I can't do it. I can't do it. All right, meeting is adjourned. Yes, I'm running to dance. I am. I'm getting over that.